Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk.
An opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Go, 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 go.
I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face!
Horror!
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
New theatrical releases always get priority.
But we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible.
Wow, that didn't sound good.
Hey, everybody. My name's Bryce Hanson, and I'm your host along with...
I'm David Day. I'm foremost expert in scare no-no.
We got a great show today. Today we're reviewing Titane, the French horror thriller that I'm still processing.
From juggernauts in Hollywood, California, Titane.
I promise I will stop that.
Just a couple quick plugs. Check out our website at horrormovietalk.com. Also, join us every second Saturday on streamlounge.io, where we have a watch party. Every second Saturday, we watch a horror movie with y'all. And if you're new to the show, we post new episodes every Wednesday. We have for the last nearly 4 years, and we will not stop. If you want to call us and leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. We start off every show by giving a brief synopsis and review for the film. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 being average, and 1 being bad, 10 being good. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can listen up to that point and bounce. Later on, we'll be doing a perennial favorite, taglines.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know if it should it be should the turn of phrase be perennial favorite? Shouldn't it be annual favorite? I don't know, because I think perennial. I don't know the actual definition of perennial, but I go perennials are the things that die every year, and annuals are the things that come back.
I think every time we do taglines, it dies a little.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Man, this coffee you got is goddamn jet fuel. I am riding up. I am like shooting rails of meth here. I mean, I don't know what that's like.
Rails of meth?
I don't know. You explode.
Don't you snort rails? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's another way to say snort.
Shooting?
You got to be in the
I
lingo.
thought shooting meant you injected it.
Well, I shoot it with a gun because I don't do meth.
Shoot it up your nose.
I know. I had pew, pew.
You get one of those those fly guns where it shoots rock salt.
No, I shoot it away from me. I put it on the ground and then I fire bullets at it to make it disperse. Make the crowds of meth disperse.
Okay, so we watched Titane. It's on Hulu right now, and I'm still recovering. I'm going to skip the trailer because it's a French movie, and the trailer is just music that we'll probably get flagged on.
French!
Pizza.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Titane is about a lot of things. I mean, what isn't Titane about?
Okay.
It's not quite a tit. It's not quite an ain, but man. So to answer your question, I don't know.
Dad, what's a Muppet?
Dad, what's a Muppet?
Well, it's not quite a mop, and it's not quite a puppet, but man. So to answer your question, I don't know.
It's not quite a mop.
Just kidding. It's about the world's most famous female auto show twerker / serial killer getting pregnant from fucking a car and posing as a grieving father's long lost son.
Whoa,
so,
spoilers, hey.
So you know that old yarn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it is it's a journey.
It's a journey.
It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, you know? Mm-hmm. So you start one place and then you got this long, confusing, scary trek to someplace else.
And it's like, it's straight up copy scenes, like that scene where Legolas gets his hair caught in Bilbo's nipple.
Right.
Ring, you know?
Yeah, and the part where where Frodo brutally murders most everyone he meets.
Yeah, with a chopstick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I getting? I feel like these movies.
I've
are
seen it
running
a
together.
lot of times. I think it's exactly alike.
Okay.
So this movie is really something else. There are obvious comparisons to David Cronenberg since it has some great disturbing body horror. But at the same time, it's not like anything I've ever seen before. You know, another one that is an obvious comparison, but it's like not quite, is Tetsuo, Iron Man.
Yeah, actually, I definitely drew that parallel early on with this one. I mean, it's not Tetsuo, the Iron Man, is not nearly as watchable as this.
No, I mean this has a lot of humanity, whereas Tetsuo feels like you're being raped by scrap metal.
Yeah, and it's strange because this it's simultaneously is about like someone without humanity, kind of like it's just
right. Yeah, it's there's a lot to unpack. It'll be a good spoiler section.
Oh yeah.
So there's very little hand-holding to the point where it's never quite explained why the protagonist does the thing she does, but it's apparent that even the protagonist doesn't know either. Like,
well, they go to bare bones effort to
I mean,
give
the
motive.
one motivation that is obvious is self-protection.
Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
It's a dreamlike film with evocative lighting, disturbing imagery, and lots of tits. Despite the bizarre plot and sphinx-like protagonist, there is a deeply human core to this film. It examines the inscrutable nature of desire, compulsion, and loss. I liked it a lot and see why it got so much buzz last year. I wouldn't say it's a must-see, but if you're in the mood for something really weird, this is a really good movie to check out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really weird. I'm not exactly sure. Like, this checks a lot of boxes that should make me like it.
Yeah.
But I think
you really like inscrutable movies where it's like, I don't quite get.
They just didn't do enough to make me... there wasn't enough connective tissue to make me kind of like care. And I think it's because the protagonist is so divorced from her humanity that I just kind of go, I don't know what this is exact. I don't know how to feel about. And so it was definitely uncomfortable. What made you want to watch this movie? What made you choose this?
Oh, this is one of those that was a new release last year that I felt like slipped by us that I think would have been really interesting to watch. I can't remember. I mean, it was during the pandemic, and it was probably hard to find a screening of it anyways. Yeah. It was easy just to say, like, we'll cover something else. It's a foreign film, so limited exposure here, but it got enough buzz among people that like indie movies and, the A24 crowd that likes this stuff. That I think it won the Palme d'Or prize at wherever that prize is given out, Cannes Film Festival. So it's a good movie. It's slightly outside of the wheelhouse of what we cover, but it's definitely a horror movie. Yeah. Like, without question. But, I mean, I just really like... I knew that it was going to be interesting, and I like interesting movies. Yeah, it's better than watching another cookie-cutter, like, rebranding of whatever slasher or reboot of a reboot. It was very unique. Yeah. And that gets a lot of points for me.
Yeah, no, so this is definitely like a shot clock 3-pointer kind of scenario where it's like the movie's just like, we're gonna take a shot, we're gonna go for the moon here, and we're gonna see if we can sink it, and it's either gonna land for you or it's not, and it almost landed for me in a few areas, and it did land for me in towards the end, but there was just too many missed shots in the middle and in the start. But it's horrifically violent. There is that. It's very uncomfortable. And one thing I really didn't kind of appreciate about it was it took, like... This is going to sound weird, but it took, like, sexuality and like, wanton nudity to the point where it just felt mundane and kind of sad.
Right.
Instead of kind of titillating.
Right. Well, I mean, that's kind of an interesting part of it, because it starts out where you're like, ooh, this is kind of titillating. And then very quickly descends to like, those are not sexual objects. Those are just flaps of meat now.
Mournful. To me. She had mournful tits. No, I mean, yeah, it's quite a ride. It does a lot of stuff, and I do respect it for setting up a lot of the unspoken stuff. Like, it does, like, you go, there aren't a lot of motivations. It's unclear as to, but if you take a couple beats and think back to it, you'll go, oh wait, it kind of does do its due diligence to set up a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
but it's very tenuous. Like, there's a lot of, it's a strange movie.
Whatever you say, it's definitely open to interpretation. Like,
yeah, a movie that is similar to this in its, like, kind of art house, weird, low effort storytelling, like, depravity that I liked more than this was Fried Berry. Which is, I think, a Shudder exclusive right now. Use code HMT at checkout to get on Shudder. But yeah, this wasn't as it just didn't get my feels as much.
Yeah.
Where are you giving this?
Yeah, as far as a score, I really liked it, and I think there's a lot that's really interesting, and this can stand the test of time. This is one of those, like, I feel it could be a cult film in a decade where people are like, have you seen this movie? It's crazy. You have to see it. So I'm going to give it an 8. It's not like, it doesn't capture my heart necessarily, but it captures my intellect and my interest thoroughly, and I would like people to see it. If they can stand it. But I was close to giving a 7, like a high 7, but I think it tips the point for me where it's like, this is a really good movie.
Yeah, I think you're in a lot of good company. I think a lot of people probably feel that exact same way, which is like, no, like, artistically and for the genre, this is a pretty impressive effort and goes a lot of places that, so one of the big places is horror is a lot of things to a lot of people. And to some people, horror is literally just a masked man walking around with a knife, stabbing people to death.
Right.
But it's like, in our journey through this podcast, I've kind of realized how broad, and weirdly existential horror can get, and how specific it can get too.
Right.
And this movie is both of those. It's broadly, existentially, terrifyingly weird, and then it's also specifically fucked up. And so for that, I will nod to it. But in terms of just enjoyment, in terms of, like, I will never watch this movie again. And it's not because I hate it or anything like that. It's just, I got it. I got it. Thanks. I get it. I saw it. It's fine. I don't have strong feelings about it. This is a 5 for me. It's like, yeah, okay. Like, And I see all the things that it does. It just didn't do it in the right. It didn't turn my gears in the right order. You know, it just was kind of like, oh, I get it. I see. Yeah. Whereas, you know, a much more, it was so divorced from emotion, while simultaneously being like slathered in emotion. I don't know. A movie that worked, and I've said this a couple times, I just think about it a lot, even though we watched it like maybe 2 years ago.
I'm in touch with my humanity.
Is Possessor. And
Yeah.
I've said this a lot. Possessor really got, like, hooked me in and then made me care. And this just kind of left me there, and I sat there watching it going, okay. So it just didn't touch my humanity.
I'm in touch with my humanity.
I was not in touch.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that you give it a 5. It's strange when you're scoring, because it's like, if you go back and you're like, do the gut check, you're like, so I'm saying this is as good as The Prodigy.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's just, yeah,
but it's how it hits you.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
how it hits you.
And,
Not
but
only that, but I foolishly gave The Prodigy a 5. Now, and,
Right.
like, looking back at it, it's like The Prodigy was really a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, man, it'd be so hard to go back and adjust things.
I have an idea for, you know, this is years down the road, but when this podcast gets big enough that we need to be doing, you know, 2, 3, 4 episodes a week, I have a series that we can do, which is revisiting old reviews and critiquing both the movie and the review of the movie, and being critical of our old selves,
right?
And being like, I think I would retroactively change this.
It's so, I mean, we talk about this probably more than it's interesting, but saying that you're a reviewer and having to tie yourself down to a number is
so
like,
dumb.
It's dumb, but it's also like, it's a standard that forces you to take a side that you can't always defend,
right?
But like, you realize, like, oh, the reviewer's job is to take a stand and say it's this,
Yeah.
and my opinion matters, because like, this is what's funny. It's like, you listen or you read other people's reviews of movies, and you're like, oh, yeah, they're putting zero thought into this, like why they like it or dislike it. You know, they're like,
no, we're agonizing over this.
That
really.
movie's dumb.
Yeah,
it's like just like so. It's so formulaic.
Did you liked the part where he got the chainsaw out of the wall and it just worked? Like, dude, I didn't fucking care about
that's
that.
way more thought than what I'm talking about. Like, it's when people are like, no, that movie's dumb.
Yeah.
Or they're just regurgitating whatever the internet opinion of it is.
I had to kick out one of those dudes out of the group yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, I sent you a
Oh, was it
screen
the guy that was like calling names, and he's like, who the fuck are you, bro?
Just a troglodyte. Just like the dumb, I mean, his eyes were pointing different ways. You know? His whole identity was like the Slipknot masks, you know? Like,
you think I'm retarded?
a little bit. No, I didn't think. I knew. Yeah, but you just got to keep it cordial and be like, hey, don't call people names. And then he's like, fuck you, ass lips.
I'll do whatever the fuck I want. Who cares? Who are you?
I'm the owner of the group. Bye. Have a good day. Oh, like I give a shit? There's 10 billion horror groups out there. Okay, go bother them. Have fun getting kicked out of them too. Like,
yeah.
What are you fighting against? What do you got?
Why don't you tell me what I don't know?
Why don't you tell me what I don't know?
So,
David, will you please give me a hug?
Yes.
You know what's not confusing is the deals at nightchannels.com. If you use code HMT at checkout at nightchannels.com, you'll get 13% off your entire order of some amazing horror-themed, occult-themed. They've added a lot of anime-themed T-shirts and hoodies. It's fantastic. like, thank you guys for supporting Night Channels. They're a really great sponsor of the show. And again, all we ask you to do, if you're a fan of the show, all you got to do is go to nightchannels.com and browse, because I'm so confident you will find a design that you're like, wow, that's awesome. I'm not going to be able to find that anywhere else, and I need that on a t-shirt. And it's a fair price, and you get pushed over the edge by that extra discount. Just go to nightchannels.com and browse.
Yeah, just browse. And let me tell you the power of this. So first of all, thank you guys for doing that last month. Last month, our numbers with Night Channels weren't doing as great, and I said, just go check out the new arrivals, but more importantly, just support them. Mm-hmm. And so you guys apparently showed up in mass droves and did that. And you know what? It wouldn't work if their shit wasn't good.
Right.
That's why we say, just take the Night Channels chat. Just go to nightchannels.com, check it out, and the shit speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You're going to see something and you're going to be like, God damn, that's the coolest fucking shirt I've ever seen. And then you're going to buy it. So use code HMT at checkout when you do. Get that 13% off, nightchannels.com.
If you're listening to these commercials, and there might be a little more than is normal due to changes in circumstances, you should know that you don't have to listen to these ads. You can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk and join to get the advanced access to the episodes right as we finish editing them, and we take out all the ads so you can get just to the juicy core of that watermelon. Also, check out our shop on horrormovietalk.com/shop. We've got logo tees and stickers, and probably add lots of more products that can push my brand.
Dude, I have this idea for like just stickers that don't really have a strong connection to horror movies, but do. That we should get Dustin. I was thinking about Justin Murphy. That we should get Dustin we should commission him to do, which is just like, okay, like a die cut, like set of tits and like down to like a slim waisted torso, and then just cover it in blood. Right? Mm-hmm. So just blood splatter all the way down. That's a sticker. It says HMT at the bottom. I would put that on my car.
Okay.
Are you kidding? Wow. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
We could brainstorm.
Shut the fuck up.
Good idea.
Oh, my God.
Speaking of Dustin Goebel, check him out on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00. And make your artistic dreams come true, because he takes commissions, and they're fucking awesome. We plugged it at the beginning of the show, but we're going to plug it again. We have this series of shows at the Kiggins Theater in downtown Vancouver, Washington, that we're really excited about, and we want as many people within the sound of my voice that either live close enough to travel or are wealthy enough to travel to Vancouver, Washington to see a movie with us. We're going to start out with The Exorcist and move on through the next 4 months of some really hard-hitting horror movies, and we're really excited to have kind of a live element and produce a show around some of our favorite horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, this, I really can't, like, if you can't make it, that's fine, but if you can do us a favor and just share the badass poster of 2 cult members with our dates and stuff, just share that on your social media and with your friends, even if you live in, in somewhere far, even if you live in Kansas City, just share it around. I really want to get the word out about this, and I'm really excited to make it a great show. And if it does well, then maybe we'll
take the show on the road.
Maybe we'll fucking show up in Kansas City. That's where the long game of this is. So help us out, and then maybe we can come meet you and motorboat them bloody titties. So you got to bring it back. That's called a callback.
That's a callback. Mm-hmm. All right. So if you want to leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. Thanks for listening. Let's get into spoilers. So, Titane.
At this point, we will be spoiling this very spoilable movie.
Yeah.
For you. Agatha Roussel. Whew, what a beautiful and unique looking woman.
Yeah.
Like, kind of some Tilda Swinton vibes going on here of like kind of like the way she is presented in this movie is very androgynous sometimes, and then other times just hotly feminine, where it's like, oh, but man, what a forceful presence on the screen. What a great casting.
Yeah, and I think this is just another great movie from the director, Julia Ducournau. She's directed Raw. Have you seen Raw?
No, another French movie that lots of people love.
Yeah, that one I like more than this one, just because it's
so raw.
I mean, it's more relatable, I guess, and more interesting, but also very similar in the style of storytelling, where it's like just show don't tell kind of thing. But that movie's fantastic, and this one is similar, but way more artistic and way more stylized. So it starts out with Titane.
You're gonna have trouble with that, huh?
I guess. Is that her name in the movie? What is her name in the movie? Alexia.
Hey,
Titania. So her name in the movie is Alexia / Adrian later. And she's in the back seat. She's a little girl. And I don't know, what did you gather from the opening scene? Because she's like humming. It sounds like she's imitating the engine sounds, annoying the fuck out of her father.
Yeah, she's revving as a little kid would. So clearly focused intently on mimicking the sounds of a car.
But I couldn't tell if it was implied that there was some kind of latent sexual energy there.
No. Okay. So walk us
pretty
through,
quick. So
walk us through the scene, and then I'll tell you my interpretation.
What happens is she's humming. She's bothering her father, who's trying to listen to the radio. He turns around to, scold her, and then when he takes his eyes off the road, they get in a crash. She's taken to the emergency room, and they perform an operation where they fuse a titanium plate into her skull, and she's left with a curly Q scar on the side of her head.
Yeah, real alarming looking scar.
And then as she leaves the hospital, she embraces and kisses the car. So there's some kind of love aspect immediate to the car, and I couldn't tell whether that was there before or whether that was a result of.
So this is the critical setup to the rest of this movie that makes me go, oh no, they really kind of really tried to do a lot, and it's all implication, it's all implied. But so I'll tell you how I read all of this, which is number one. At the start of this movie, we understand something about her relationship with her father, which is it is not good. Her dad is not a cool guy. He's not kind and supportive of her. He's, at the very least, authoritarian and uncaring. And that's pretty much the only way we ever see him with her throughout this movie. So that's number one. Number two, in the moment while she suffers a traumatic head injury, astonishingly traumatic head injury, she's focused on cars. And then, boom, massive head injury, and presumably, this is what I took out of it, now we have the absolute, now it's just locked in her head. Of just the
fetishizing.
Yeah, she was obsessing over cars at the moment of impact, and now, boom, locked in. So now that's kind of how I read the start of this, which is oh, there's two traumas here, right? There's like this terrible relationship with her father because her father was scolding her at the moment of impact, and also like I was obsessing with cars at the moment of impact.
Yeah, that's an interesting interpretation that she was locked in. I felt like there might have been something there where there was like an attraction to cars, maybe not a sexual thing, but
it's hard to know,
an obsession kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
That's definitely at least locked in after the surgery. And then what does it do? It jumps forward like a little bit later. She's still young. She's not like an adult. I can't remember what happens in that scene.
Yeah, I mean, it just further cements that bad relationship with her dad, where her dad just is kind of like, you know, she feels bad. She's got a stomach ache or something, and her mom's like, oh, have your dad take a look at it, because it's implied that he's like some sort of doctor or something. And,
well, that's later. Well, anyways, so she's like grown up now, and it shows her highly sexualized at this car show. And what I can gather is she's the most famous auto show twerker in the world.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe too.
It was weird because it's like she has fans that like follow her around to trade shows and like boat shows and auto shows. And it's like, which is just a weird, funny concept to me, where it's like, no, it's like, it's the purpose is objectifying women at auto shows. They're like, no, we just need a pretty girl that isn't a human. She's just a body, and she stands next to the car with her tits out.
There's definitely the vampirella of car shows. You know, that's a whole scene.
Is there?
Oh, for sure. Okay. Oh, absolutely. You know, it's, you know,
we should get her on the show. If any of you knows the vampirella of car shows, reach out to her. Tell her that Horror Movie Talk wants to interview her.
Oh yeah, like that's just so easy. She's in her like, she has people.
She's in her 70s now. She's watching her grandkids. She's moved on.
Yeah, it's I just yeah, you get into these like specific communities, and then you go, oh yeah, I forgot about Rule 34.
Right.
You know, it's just like, of course this exists.
Right.
You know.
So she's there, and then there's there's an obsessed fan that approaches her from in the parking lot, and like, you know, just men, this is not the way to go about it. Don't follow your obsession in a dark alleyway and start running after they run away from you.
Yeah.
To catch up to them. Yeah. No, you don't understand. I love you.
It's love. I swear. Hey, don't be worried.
Please kiss me. So
yeah, and then he gets pretty. Yeah, well, we'll say this: this man had no idea what boundaries were, and if he did, he was all about disrespecting them. Disrespect your surroundings. Yeah, this man was not cool.
And so she responds by stabbing him in the ear with a chopstick.
Fully murdering this man, which she doesn't seem to be too broken up about. And to be honest, this first murder was like, it felt justified. Be like, oh yeah. Yeah. No, it starts out very reasonable. You're like, oh yeah, dude was.
I mean, it's not quite justified, but you get it. You know.
I mean, dude, if some dude come up to you in your car and started French mouth kissing you in France, where they do French mouth kissing.
That's the only kissing that they do.
In France?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why it's called French kissing.
Oh. Well, if he started French kissing you in France, and we're assuming you had long, luxurious hair that could support a chopstick, I think, are you telling me you wouldn't go, we've crossed a barrier here. He's just moments away from putting it in my pooper.
I don't know. I would yell at him. Get the fuck away, you know?
Uh-huh.
Try that first. And then when he
but
tried to climb on top of me, then
let's say he's much bigger than you and stronger. How about then?
Yeah, I mean it's
you got a moment, you got an opening. His ear's right there. Boom.
There is, because if he starts climbing on top of you, he's probably going to grab your arms.
Yeah, no, you have a window of opportunity here, and it's like, hey man, it was him or me, kind of thing.
Right.
I get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was saying. It's like this is the most justified, or it makes the most sense. Later on, she just commits wanton murder.
Oh yeah,
all over the place.
It devolves very quickly.
Yeah. I think before that moment is like the shower scene, which is the first scene where it's just like, we're just going to show all the tits now. And there's she leans down at the same time, gets her hair caught in this other girl's nipple ring. And it's a little...
Oh, is that what it was? It was a nipple ring?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes so much more sense. I was like, how does your hair get caught on someone's nipple? Because I'm growing my hair out now, and I'm like, I don't want...
Should I worry about that?
I don't want to have to worry about this, too. Like, ugh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sexuality in this movie, and between like her being an object of desire of men at the show, but also seemingly the women in the shower.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
And then she's, washing the rape off of her after she murders the guy. And and there's a knock at the door. And this is like where it turns really dreamlike.
A big, booming, masculine knock.
Right. And she goes directly from the shower into like the showroom.
Yeah. She's like,
water still dripping. It's really artistic. It looks pretty awesome. Water still dripping off of her body. And there's...
It's really artistic. I loved it.
I mean, it was.
Great point.
Wasn't it?
She was dripping. She's all naked.
All right. I don't care. I stand by my statement.
No, I know you do.
And there's this like...
Stand erect by your statement.
old... I don't know cars. Looks like a Lincoln.
Yeah,
like an old
it's
70s like lowrider kind of car.
Yeah, it's one of these. Yeah, it's one of these cars up on hydraulics. Like an old Pontiac or something like that. That's.
Yeah, so she climbs into it, and
let's be clear. It was knocking at the door,
right?
like she opens the door and it's sitting there with its headlights on. Like gazing at her.
Their headlights meet.
Yeah, their headlights meet, and the car like revs his engine. He's like vroom vroom, and she's like,
"You ready?"
Vroom vroom. Yeah, if this starts getting weird, that's where this movie goes. Is
right.
It's a lot of things,
and as much as you can show in a not pornographic movie, she proceeds to fuck this car.
Yeah, she really takes it.
It would really help me if I could just see the gear shifter just to know what we're working with, Yeah,
I was unclear as to how the insemination actually happened, but it did happen.
Right.
Like, there was definitely motor oil way up in that canal, like blasting, like high PSI, boom.
This is like
hot
hentai
loads.
levels of oil getting shot up into
hot loads.
That chasm.
Bang.
Fuel injection.
Yeah, brother. Oh.
High five.
Very nice.
So yeah, and then it's kind of left at that. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're just
happened?
Okay. So then you're kind of like smoking a cigarette and trying to figure out where your sexuality stands. You're just like, okay, so I didn't think I was attracted to women who are attracted to cars, but for some reason I have a half chub, and now I have to figure out what this means for me. It's that moment where you see Patrick Bateman with his clothes off, and you're like, huh.
You see those cum gutters.
Ooh. Well, that's a thing now. I wonder what. Gotta explore that.
Your Windows tells you. Notification. You're gay.
Oh well, you know.
Yeah. So did this remind you of anything? This reminded me of like those weird sex fetish videos of like the woman
from
that's,
the BBC,
the woman that's like attracted to roller coasters.
Yep. That's exactly that's the exact clip that this reminded me of.
Right.
Is that woman who's like all about this specific Ferris wheel in Gloucestershire, and she's like, I just love her so much. You know, she just gives me this feminine energy, and so that's how I know it's a her. But
yeah, it's so weird that not only I guess this is my bigoted side, but it's weird enough that it's a roller coaster that you're attracted to, but also you're attracted to lesbian roller coasters,
right? Yeah, I can't
specifically.
Yeah, Bryce, can you just open your mind a little bit? Can you fucking check your fucking
that's a bridge too far.
White cis male privilege at the door just to accept that it is a lesbian roller coaster. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Lesbian roller coasters exist. Deal with it.
Yeah, dude.
But she like gets married to this roller coaster, and then there's like scenes of her like hiking. She's in a skirt, and like I think she either hikes down her panties or she's not wearing any. She's like, we're directly in contact, and you're like,
she presses. She's
presses rubbing her cooch up against
the cold steel of a roller coaster,
and she's like humping this thing, and there's like families walking by.
Yeah.
There's little kids with cotton candy walking by. This lady's like, yeah. Oh, I love you so much.
I just can't wait to fit your 430-ton steel frame inside me. Rusty bolts and all, baby. Oh, yeah. And you're like, so we went to Disney World a couple months ago, and I'm not going to lie to you, Bryce.
Like that Space Mountain, it really moved me.
It occurred to me. Like they're building that new Tron thing, and I was like, I wonder where Tron could take my dick. You know? It's not a very big unit, so I bet all over the place I could just... But you know what's really unfair?
What?
Like, she gets to hump a roller coaster, nothing happens to her. But I guarantee you, if I hacked down my pants and started humping a roller coaster, the cops would be all over me. Mm-hmm. There'd be SWAT teams. It's a double standard, man.
Yeah. Where's the love for the
cis white male?
For the cis white,
humping a roller coaster?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be cis if I were humping a roller coaster.
And then there's like people that actually like just fuck cars.
Yeah, you know, like in Titane, which is the movie that we forgot that we were talking about.
Yeah. So then she starts having a stomach attack, a stomach ache attack. Her stomach attacks her, which isn't that far from the truth. And that's the scene where like her mother asks her father to check her because he's a doctor, I guess, and he's like tired of her shit. Like, this feels like a tummy. Shut up.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a weird unspoken thing where she's like, she grabs his hand to check more and he won't.
Yeah, it's... All of this movie is just implication. It's like you said at the start. There's no hand-holding here. It's just like you got to take what they give you and very, very liberally apply it to the people in it, right? To their traumas. Like, this is a movie about family trauma and who it hurts and how, and like the weird fucking ways that people go about trying to fill those voids left by those traumas.
Right.
And yeah, her relationship with what's his name? Vincent later on. Vincent, played by Vincent Linden, is like a father figure that she didn't have and is accepting of her and protecting of her all the time, you know?
Right.
So it's like this,
It hops around a lot in the beginning between the flashback and the auto show and the murder and then the fucking a car. And then it goes to her like fucking some girl, and it's like she's licking her nipple, which is, you know, I like. And then immediately transitions into biting very hard. I'm like,
not like.
Here's my
do not like.
Here's the two notes I wrote. Licking nipples, I'm on board. Biting nipples, less on board. That's the next bullet point.
Good touch, bad touch.
And the girl's like, what the fuck? And then
yeah, I hope that was a false nipple, because that nipple got I mean, that'd be
there's probably some people into it, but
bring
Jesus.
in the stunt tit.
And that, like, the scene like that is like, what was the point of that scene?
To indicate that her sexuality was divorced from empathy. Like like she has, like, she behaves more like a machine, like a car, than, you know, like a robot that's just like exploring its weird robot sexuality,
Right.
than a kind, loving, caring person. Because, and, you know, like, there's so many weird implications, you know. It's like, oh, she has metal in her head, right? And now she's been, like, fucked by a car, so, and she's got, like, tummy aches, so presumably there's a car baby inside her,
Right. And then we're shown that there's a car baby because she starts leaking oil from her cooch.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, oh no, I'm car pregnant. And she attempts to perform a chopstick abortion that failed. That was, like, pretty disturbing.
This movie is not gonna be a pleasant experience for you. Like, that's the whole point, is this movie is unpleasant.
Yeah. And then it shows her basically murdering an entire apartment full of people for no real apparent reason, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
just like, well, I guess I learned to like murdering people now.
Right. It's it's a lot. She has to engage in homicidal behavior, cannot be corrected.
Yeah, and it's all throughout the movie. I'm asking myself, is this all in her head? Like, it feels so
dreamlike,
nightmare, has such a nightmarish quality to it.
Yeah, but
and
no,
it's so surreal that you're like, what is there going to be some unifying truth that's going to tie all this together? And the answer is no, not really.
Like, yeah, she sees news.
You're along for the ride.
Yeah, she tracks her, like, so she turns into some, like, serial killer in the south of France. And then the news is reporting on her throughout the movie, you know, and she'll like loosely keep track of what the news is saying about her killing spree.
Right. And then she goes to disguise herself. And this is an interesting scene because it's actually not that hard to disguise yourself, especially if you're a woman that's attractive. I feel like all you got to do is just be not attractive. Just don't put on makeup and wear frumpy clothes, and no one will recognize you probably. If you're going from, you know, the most famous auto show twerker to just some frumpy gal on the street. But she, like, cuts her hair, and then she
breaks her own nose.
Yeah, she breaks her own nose.
Pretty convincingly.
It's like, you know, you can just wear sunglasses. Wear a hat or a wig and sunglasses, and you're fine. No one's going to recognize you. Have you ever seen, like, any YouTube videos on techniques for disguises, like what the CIA or clandestine organizations would actually do?
No.
There's like a really interesting YouTube video of this lady that was, like, in charge of disguise. And she gave a lot of information. A lot of stuff was probably still classified. But basically, like, the aim is to be the little gray man, like so inconspicuous that like you just don't even look at people that don't matter, you know?
Right.
And like, and there's masks that are just like, oh, you just if you're not looking close enough, and if a guy is like wearing a mask and sunglasses, it's like that just looks like a
dude,
kind of a middling, ugly dude.
That's Gary from Omaha,
right?
Yeah.
And but there's a really interesting clip where it shows how to do a quick change, where you're like just walking into a crowd, and it doesn't take much. You're like,
Step one, break your nose.
You have a bag, you walk into a crowd, you take your shirt off, put on a jacket or something, and that's enough to where like people just don't recognize you now. Like, because it's like, oh, you go from it's weird how easy it is to trick people. Where it's like you were one shape and now you're not that shape.
Right.
How did you change into a person, not you?
I'm going to show you this picture of Agatha Roussel, the lead actress, and her defining characteristic of her headshot is definitely her long, slender nose. Just perfectly straight, and I mean, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But if you take that, but what they chose to do is be like, oh, like her defining characteristic, like her facial character, is her nose, and then they just fucked it up, like fucked it up.
Yeah.
And it changed her. It did change her from a attractive young woman to a slight young man.
You know who she looked exactly like after she'd broken her nose and like finished her transition? Exactly like Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh yeah.
Like disturbing, without eyebrows, like, and strangely inhuman.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, she Zuckerberged herself.
She got zucked.
You got zucked. So she disguises herself, like wraps her tits in gauze, and her just beginning little
baby bump,
and she goes off and she sees some posters of abandoned or like lost children, like projecting what they'd look like in 25 years or whatever. And then she goes and like says like, I'm this lost kid.
Yeah.
And the father's like, yep, that's my boy.
My boy. Yeah, this...
They're like, should we do a DNA test? No, I know what my boy looks like.
Up until this point, this movie just was so detached from my empathy or like... And that's really what hurt this movie, I feel like, for me, was this first half. It was just so... Ugh. But... this relationship that she gets into she poses as Vincent's lost young boy, and suddenly it's like weirdly interesting, but also like so sad.
It's like a car wreck. You can't look away from it.
Yeah, it's very much like, oh, this dude will do anything just to have his boy back that he lost, and he's so weirdly broken from. Presumably the trauma of losing his boy. And she's so weirdly broken from, the head trauma she suffered as a child and her father not caring about her. And now they're like both kind of like fixing each other, kind of. Yeah,
it's like a weird, like compulsion on both their parts.
Right.
Like it's inevitable and tragic.
But also kind of beautiful and... nice.
Yeah. It grows into something, still weird, but a little more, human. Did you ever see the documentary Imposter?
No. I don't think so.
Okay, so there's this documentary, and it's really interesting. It's basically close to this story.
Oh, was this the Canadian girl who got, or the girl who got adopted by Canadian parents that was kind of like...
Close. It was like this American... boy that got kidnapped, and then he got found in Spain, and they brought him back, and he was like, dealing with trauma, and he was all different. But it was just a con man saying he was their son.
Yeah, there's a lot of this stuff.
And there was so many, it's really interesting because the cognitive dissonance of these people that wanted their son back and were willing to believe
at any cost.
At any cost. Yeah. So things like he had a different eye color and he had a French accent. And he's like, the kid's supposed to be 15, 16, and this guy is 40 something. So it's all these things where the instant you see him, you're like, well, that's not right. But
that boy ain't right.
The desire to believe and want it, and being protective of your son, and possible horrible trauma and what that does to a person. There was a lot of implied from that. So, and the story that this guy weaves in the documentary is basically oh yeah, I was taken and then passed around in this pedophile ring, and raped, and they injected my eyes to change its color. And they wouldn't let me speak English, so that's why I have a French accent now. So stuff that's just absurd. Well, that's not how things work at all. But that story, they just 100% bought. Yeah.
That's so
trauma.
Sad. That's so
sad. It's really sad, and that's exactly what happens here, because it's obvious that is not his son, but the subtext is this is the effects of trauma on this boy, that he's unrecognizable and has no personality because of being raped, I guess.
Yeah, Alexia. Yeah, she wraps her feminine figure in a. By the way, in just a body horror style, it is not pleasant to constantly wrap your tits and your stomach up.
Right, and it goes from ooh, oh yeah, it's she's wrapping them up, and then you see after the first couple days, it's just raw with
bruising,
just bruising
and abrasions.
You're ugh, stop.
Yeah, and she goes to great lengths never to talk in front of Vincent,
right.
and this upsets the Vincent. But there's an implication on everyone's part of Vincent's I protect you, you're my son. No one can convince me otherwise. That he does say something like that. We don't talk about my kid. Shut the.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah, we don't talk about Bruno. No. And yeah, and so there's this. It's like a contract that he and she kind of sign up for. There's this little bit. Yeah. Well, I know, but
and it gets more.
We can
that
be
way as time goes on.
We can be that role for each other. Your dad sucked, and I can be the kind, protective dad, and my kid's gone, and you can be my son.
So this whole world with Vincent and the firefighters,
yeah. By the way, so her newfound dad is a firefighter, right? He's a structural firefighter, an old man.
Yeah, and he's taking tea, injecting his ass with
what is tea?
I'm assuming. Well, I mean, I guess anabolic steroids.
Steroids or testosterone, something like that.
Something to to train and
jazz up them buns.
There's this kind of compulsion around that, but then there's this weird aspect of very homoerotic, there's a weird kind of non sequitur dance sequence, and then they become more frequent. This is just a dancing fire station. This fire station dances,
fucks,
and I stood back and I was like, you know what? This is probably what it feels like for women when they're watching female characters that are written by men. It's just something doesn't make sense, and they're like, "What?" So, if you're a man writing a female character as kind of a side character, you're they're overly sexualized. They're obsessed with weird
That's a good point.
things that aren't they're not filled out characters. Like, they're not normal. It's like they exist to be a certain thing.
Yeah, to be a sex object for men.
And so, like, it's weird because it's
the opposite.
It's written by a woman and a guy, I guess, but it feels like a character.
But
like
it's
a
directed by just that woman.
Yeah, it feels like a character written by a woman that, like, has a weird conception of what masculinity is.
Yes.
So there's, like, an obsession over, like, testosterone.
Yeah.
But also, like, this...
The good old boy thing is a little bit more than good old boy thing. It's like, oh, that's kind of gay.
Yeah.
And it's like...
So it's like when you see a movie where girls are having a sleepover and all of a sudden they're having pillow fights and like taking their shirts off and stuff. It's like, that's what sleepovers with girls are like, right?
That's what...
You just get your tits out and start playing, and then, you know, you fall over each other and go, hee hee hee. Like, I imagine women, they're like, oh yeah, firefighters, they just take their shirts off and start dancing.
Just dance.
With each other.
You know, guys...
Rubbing
it's
up on
been
each
a long
other.
Day.
Put on some oil.
Listen, it's been a long day. We lost that kitten in the 4th story. I just need to dance. I just got to dance it off. Dance it off. Dance. Yeah, it's
and
very
then also kind of like the toxic masculinity of not being able to express your feelings and force like the person that you love to like let you love them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a little Brokeback Mountain.
I'm gonna hold you down and love you.
I'm gonna love you so much you're gonna wish I didn't love you so much.
I wish I could quit you. Yeah. So that was like probably the most interesting thing to me was like
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was unpleasant for me, so I just blocked it out.
Yeah, because the character's so weird, and that whole world of like what
is this?
What is this? You know?
Yeah, no.
Just imagine like taking because
it doesn't make me angry or like make me like feel it does. You know how sometimes women will be like, "Oh, gee, I'm just tired of the nonstop stereotype." Right. Well, this isn't a nonstop stereotype, so it doesn't offend me. It's kind of this one-off, like...
Right, but you could imagine if every movie you watched
written by a woman
was this perception of this masculinity, weird... and you're like, why doesn't he act like a human?
Right, yeah. This is such unbelievable characters, and the women also, are like, hey, shut up, I'm getting off to this, please.
But that's weird, because, like, women in men's minds, like, the lizard brain is like, fuck, I want to fuck. You need to be a character that will allow me to fuck you. So it's like hypersexuality.
Yeah.
And then with women, it's like protect. I need protection and safety. And so like the interpretation of this man is like he's forcibly protective.
Yeah.
just like, so protective.
I'm gonna protect you so hard right now. I'm gonna protect you so hard. I'm gonna inject testosterone into my ass cheeks every single day.
I love protecting.
I love fucking.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, that's a great. I love this. This is now I'm a full point more. Now that I understand this, I like it. I want to be sexualized in this way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about this.
And then pretty quick, several times throughout the remainder of the movie, she's found out because it's not that hard to find out. It's kind of hard to hide the fact that she's, 9 months pregnant with a, mercury inside of her. And the coworker figures out oh, you're probably the serial killer, but the father won't listen. The mother shows up and catches her undressed. So, fully pregnant with her tits out, and she's like,
listen, you need to be good to my husband, okay? He thinks you're his son, so can you just please, can you just keep him seeing your arms?
I like to say the arms.
Yeah. Can you just keep all this tits and stuff? Can you just treat him good? Can you keep all this under wraps, please? Thank you.
And then it gets to the point where the father even... obviously understands what's going on, and he says the line of, I don't care who you are, you're my son, you'll always be my son, whoever you are.
Yeah.
So it's please don't, just let this be a thing,
Yeah.
it's okay. And this is skipping over a lot of body horror, like, which is a very prevalent theme, where she's like unwrapping herself and like she's so pregnant and she's like itching to the point where she like pokes a hole through her stomach and there's oil inside, and like her abdomen is ripping and it shows chrome through like these chrome stretch marks kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very, again, like this movie shifts in and out of these dreamlike impossible sequences where you're like, oh, like you can see the car baby inside of her because her stomach rips open in like these big gaps, and then somehow like she gets better. You know, it's like she's got like some big steel womb inside of her that's just like just trying to rip through her skin, and man, is it unpleasant to see and to think about. But it's also kind of dreamlike because it. Hey, we got a. Is this a caller? It's also kind of unpleasant because, or dreamlike because it fixes itself on occasion. It's like, oh, you have a massive hole gaping open to show your womb, and then like a couple days later, we're good. Like, it's okay, I fixed that. It's like, oh, okay, well, what is this? Is this a dream?
I let him taste and I he diabetic. I don't want to spit. I want to go. I want to gag. I want to joke. I want you to
ask me if I'm a truck.
Ask me if I'm a truck.
I'm trying to find that meme. I'm a trunk. Honk.
Honk.
So yeah, there, and then like you're wondering this whole time. It's like, is she gonna give a birth to a fucking car?
Yeah. How is this?
Like,
what is going
to happen? Is a car gonna like rip out of her like the alien?
Yes.
Through a chest cavity, and then finally the birth scene comes, and it's so weird. It's so weird. Like, she gives birth and then immediately dies, and we're just seeing this newborn, and it's got like this titanium spine poking through its skin.
It's very much like Neo being born from the Matrix.
Right.
Like, that's the aesthetic.
It's like the birth of Auto Jesus.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We call him, this is Optimus Prime. Yeah. Hang on, I'll find it. Go on.
So, like that moment where you feel like you're looking forward to a moment where like, well, this is all going to tie together, and this isn't just going to be a series of events that are strung together that don't quite make sense but make you feel weird.
Yes.
Like, that never really comes. It just ends with another one of those occurrences that just makes you feel weird.
Well,
like,
again, there's a lot of implied bullshit here, right?
Right.
Which is okay. So you have Vincent, who supports her to the end, despite her not being his son.
Oh yeah. Also,
and then,
sorry, skipped over something.
Oh, okay.
And I'll get back to it. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
And as this baby is born,
oh, that's the Michael Bay sounds.
Well, yeah, quack 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 quack. As this baby is born, he has a kid. Now he has a kid.
Yeah.
And it's
a son.
But not only is it a son, it's like a Transformer son? Like, it's just like, what? It's so it's like you don't ever get to forget that this isn't your son. And you had to go through the trauma of losing that other girl who wasn't your son. But now you have something else. Like, there's all this weird, like, he gets to be the good dad that she didn't have to her child. And, like, the generational impact of all this can maybe be made right, even through the incredible struggle of having a Transformer for a child. Like, it's just like, you're doing all these mental gymnastics to try and like get what they're going for, like the thing that they're trying to say, but it's just also loosely, it's like, and it's a car baby.
Right. Yeah. So there's one part I skipped over in one of the many dance sequences so there's a firefighter dance sequence and they're all being very masculine and there's like a mosh pit and she's like being flung around and danced with. I said to myself, like, what if she just started twerking like she did in the beginning?
Yeah.
She was just this, and then it happens. It's great. Like she gets like pushed up to the top of this fire truck and she just starts like working it and twerking, just doing the whole like stripper routine.
She's like, excuse me, boys, I gotta go to twerk.
And that's when like the father's like, oh
yeah, goddamn slutted it up in front of my peers.
So it comes full circle.
Okay.
Like, it's so weird. It's so surreal. This is a very surreal movie. Like,
yes,
the ultimate, like, I don't know what's going on, and there feels like there's a ton of meaning that I don't understand.
Well, and that's the real problem. And there's so much of this is kind of implied or unearned. It's just like loosely flopped out there.
See, what's funny is like usually I'm on the other side of this argument where you're like, oh yeah, that's the part I like, is the part where they don't tell you what's going on, and I love it.
Yeah, but this is just flopped out there like a big floppy limp dick. You know, it's just like,
yeah,
and it's like no one wants that pick. You know, it's like, okay, fine,
get a half chub at least.
Oh.
Find me the cartoon transforming.
That's Starscream. Yeah, let's go cartoon transformer sounds. Let's see about that. Cartoon.
Here we go.
No, not that. No, I got it.
Spice okay.
Here. Stop.
Do not flick! Transform too!
That's the sound I'm looking for.
Jailbreaker! Wheeljack!
There's this YouTube video that I'm on. It just has the subtitles. It just says cha choo choo cha choo 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 cha choo 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 cha choo choo choo.
Instead of being called Titane, it should be called cha choo 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 choo.
Chicho and Tamu. Oh man, that was my childhood. That sound. I love the Transformers.
I was more of a Dino Riders kind of guy. Dino Riders and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Big time into those Dino Riders, baby.
So, yeah, that's the movie.
And that's kind of how you got to leave it. You go, so that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of, like I said in the beginning, like, I feel like the themes that it explores are like compulsion of being like driven to do something that you don't quite understand why you are. So like her attraction to cars, like what pushes her to kill people, what pushes her to like be an imposter. Like these are all like inscrutable elements of the story where I can't tell if she understands why she's doing these things.
It's pretty clear that she doesn't.
Yeah.
And furthermore, it's not like the thing that she's trying to figure out. Like, she's just in survival mode throughout this whole movie. It's not like she's like, why am I the way I am?
Right.
It's just, I'm a robot. I try to survive.
I'm a truck. Honk. Honk. and the other side of it is like exploring loss and like self-delusion with the father of like really wanting something so much that you're seeing things that aren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
a lot of deluding yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really interesting aspects of that to come out of something that just is such a weird series of events strung together.
Let me just say that the casting in this, like, pretty great.
Yeah.
And I'm talking all the way through, like, so the little girl who plays her at the start it must be related to her. They must be related somehow because they are spitting images of each other. I'm looking for whoever plays the let's see here, Alexia as a little kid. Anyway, and I'll let you know. No, they're not related. Wow, that's amazing. Adele Guig. Man, I can't believe they're not related.
Yeah. So, so who would like this movie, David?
Oh, people who like real uncomfortable body horror, kind of like Cronenbergian. People who like stuff that is horrendously violent for the sake of violence, kind of. This isn't. This is like a strangely complicated, uncomplicated lane. Like.
If you're into A24 movie, if you liked Lamb, you'd probably love this movie.
I don't know
if you like Lamb, but also really like David Cronenberg.
See, I like Cronenberg, and I like Lamb, but. I don't know. It just
didn't strike you.
Didn't strike me. Super duper.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think like
it's a big vibe.
Yeah, and it's a very big vibe. And also, I wonder how much of it is like the fact that it's French. It's the same thing with like. I don't understand if this is weird because it's weird or it's weird because it's foreign.
No, it's weird because it's weird.
Is it something that's tapping into that I don't understand? It's like no.
Yeah, the French have, ever since the Maginot Line, they're just constantly obsessed with putting steel into things. They're just like, yeah, put it in there. No.
So that's that. Moving on, let's get to taglines.
Here's taglines.
Remember that we have an intro to this?
I love it. That is a really, what a super duper intro.
That's really super.
What is taglines?
Taglines is a bit where we write alternate taglines to the movie we're reviewing. Full stop.
And they could be funny, they could be awkward, they could make you cringe.
Yeah. How many do you got? I got 4.
Yeah, I think I got 4.
Okay. I'll start out with, well, I won't lead in. Titane, putting the tit in titanium.
Titania. I have to disrespect her pronouns a little bit for this one to work, but just bear with me because it's a comedy bit. So just, stick with it. Titania. Her pronouns are beep zoom. They're also action words. Beep zoom.
Titane. French for challenging wank.
I like that one. Challenging wank. We use the word wank enough.
I know.
Wank off.
Yeah.
You wanker. Titane. Car owners need to know that motor problems can come from using low-quality oil. Always use Pennzoil.
Titane. It takes the asphyxiation out of autoerotic asphyxiation.
Dang, that's a banger. The asphyxiation. Titane. Stay protected. Always change your oil filter before dumping oil in your favorite rig.
And my last one, Titane. David Cronenberg's Shakespeare in Love.
My last one is very simple. Titane. Dangerous tits. These tits are dangerous. Do not grope at your own risk.
Yeah.
Because she will fuck you up.
Squirt oil in your eye.
Yeah, do not attack these tits. And maybe you'll come out alive.
Yeah.
She really goes on a violent very specific, like ear-stabbing spree.
Mm-hmm. Got to stab those ears.
God, that's a calling card. Man, I sure do hope that everybody had a good time with this show, and I also hope that they take us seriously when we ask them to please head on over to our Horror Movie Talk Facebook page, our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook group, and share that Kiggins Cult of Horror poster that we have. It's got, if you want to buy advanced tickets, tickets are limited to this. It's not a huge theater, so make sure to get yours in advance over at KigginsTheater.com. Theater is spelled the classy way with an R-E at the end instead of an E-R. So KigginsTheater.com, that's our first show. See The Exorcist in theaters. This is like the movie that put movies on the map in terms of big theater going experiences. So, people were waiting in line for weeks to see this when it came out, and you get a chance to come see it at the Kiggins, March 25th. Doors open at 9, show starts at 9:30, and we're going to have giveaways. We're going to have lots of fun stuff. Free popcorn on this first show, so come check it out.
And we'll see you then. Thanks so much to all our patrons for supporting us and our sponsors. Please, again, reach out to us. Call us at 682-253-4468 to leave us a voicemail, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Looking for a podcast full of burps and gas, perverted cast, skinny and fat? Look no further. Horror Movie Talk is accidentally funny, begs to donate money, fake sponsors for dummies, and so much more. New episodes every hump day. They'll pickle your dickle for foreplay. Patreon members have it your way. Vote for a movie every month for the review. Choppa choppa, don't just stare at it, eat it like a taco. Put your tongue through the phone, hoodie, Picasso. Look at them hot kids, swear not a pedo. Got me too'd with Cosby eating jello. Pudding Pops done gave Bryce flatulence. Drain addict Dave doesn't give a shit. 1 through 10, is it horrible or excellent? Oil me up, daddy, is dinner rum. Kiss, Bryce Hansen. Look at them hot kids, Chris Henson. Masturbate with a crucifix, exorcist. Face huggers, chest bursters, alien. Linda Blair peed on Sigourney Weaver. I know it's true cause it came from social media. Patrick Bateman can't understand you. Stab you to death for rotten apple reviews. Opinionated podcaster with a doctorate. Spookology, doctor of philosophy. Bad gastritis, need colostomy. Turn Patreons into human centipedes. David Doobie Day, scare him, no expert. And Global Fucks hard, professional sexpert. Afterpods, taglines, and porno flicks. American Psycho, them guys pretty sick. Choppa choppa, don't just stare at it, eat it like a taco. Put your tongue through the phone, hoodie, Picasso. Look at them hot kids, swear not a pedo. Got me too'd with Cosby eating jello. Pudding Pops done gave Bryce flatulence. Drain addict Dave doesn't give a shit. 1 through 10, is it horrible or excellent? Oil me up, daddy, is dinner rum. Nothing good happens in the woods. Always get more than you bargained for. Got a pickle to dickle, machines tickle bitties. Killer on the phone, ain't no sharing stove. Vancouver, Portland, Oregon, and organs. Corona, COVID, curse, Lorona. Green River Killer, because reasons. Hallway of poop monster kids screaming. Ain't your ordinary dingleberry itinerary. 30 days shutter and jump scares, they fucking scary. Time for the spoilers with jokes and tropes. Use their white socks to catch their loads. Just show them one titty, pretty. Paganism you should worship, they Teflon dicks. Pacific Northwest, let them see one breast. Shifty eyes stay spooky, poor man's digress. Bugsy, HMT, Horror Movie Talk. Hold on, they don't like Halloween. Fuck them.
Dad, what's a Muppet?
Well, it's not quite a mop, and it's not quite a puppet, but man. So to answer your question, I don't know.